Okay, first of all, congratulations on being appointed to chief. How does that?
Thank you.
How does it feel to be appointed chief?
Um, it's extremely exciting. Of course, I'm very pleased and proud of myself, um, and so excited and look forward to moving forward.
Tell me, I know a little bit about the interview process. I know you guys have had to uh, uh, conduct your own community meeting, and I know about the forum that you guys had at City Hall. What's something else that you guys had to go through?
So, you initially the whole application process. There was a series of questions that was part of the application that had to be completed. We had what's called an EQI, kind of like a personality leadership style testing that kind of measures your leadership style. That was a part of the process as well. And then from that point, we were given a series of exercises that was going to be part of the assessment center. So when we had the assessment center, there were a total of, I believe, 4 exercises. One was a role play dealing with a personnel issue. The other was a community meeting where there were a variety of different issues going on in the community. And it was to measure how you would address and facilitate the meeting with the community. Another was a written exercise that identified several problems that were going on and then asked how would you address those problems. And those problems ranged from things that happened on the inside that's going on internally, as well as things that are going on externally in the community. And so it was a measurement of how you would not only put together a plan to address those issues, but also checking your writing skills as well. And then there was also a presentation where you were to, we were given a certain set of facts and asked to develop a presentation based on how we would respond using materials that were already given to us as well. And then, of course, there was a one-on-one or face-to-face interview.
And 23 years all spent here in Winston-Salem. You did a little bit of everything from patrol division, recruiting, training. What do you think has prepared you most for this chief position?
I think a little bit of all of it. Patrol division, of course, you're exposed to everything, and I've been fortunate enough to work in the patrol division as, of course, a patrol officer, a corporal, where I had the opportunity to train some officers inside, new officers inside. Sergeant, I've been the sergeant over a squad in patrol, and then also lieutenant. So that has really been great experience for me and any officer that come through the department. In patrol, you can get a little bit of everything every day, so nothing is ever the same. Being exposed to the Criminal Investigations Division, both as a sergeant, lieutenant, and also as a captain, and of course assistant chief, I was able to see various levels of major investigations in our department or in our community and oversee those investigations within the department. And then, of course, recruiting. It's been a long time since I've been in recruiting, and a lot of things have changed, but much stays the same, and that is mainly that people are people, and everybody wants to be treated like they're important. And quite honestly, the reason that I'm here today is because of my recruiter, who reached out to me and was persistent about making sure that I was interested, staying engaged in the application process, and then ensuring that I stayed engaged while here going through rookie school. So I think that all the positions that I've been exposed to, training and all of the positions have really prepared me for where I am today.
And another point that you put a lot of emphasis on was connecting with the youth. Why do you believe that's important?
So I think that we all know that children are our future. And when when you're talking to or dealing with children, you can see the innocence, the imagination, the creativity, the pure brilliance of the young people in our community. And we do ourselves, our community, and our children a disservice by not fostering and basically growing the brilliance that they have and the innocence that they possess. As a young child myself, I grew up in a large inner city, and I saw violence all the time. It was just the nature of where I was. To the point that when I came here to the police department, and I joke all the time about my first phase training coach is the late Howard Pluff, Sergeant Pluff. He was my first phase training coach at the time, and we had gotten a call for service, and it was a discharging firearms. And we're going code 1, which is blue lights and siren. And so I looked over at him and I said, why are we going blue lights and siren? And he said, do you know what we're going to? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, what? I said, discharging firearms. He said, what does that mean to you? And I said, somebody shot a gun? And he said, okay, and what's your question? My question is, why are we going code 1? And I said, well, was somebody shot? He said, well, we don't know that, but I'm saying they hadn't reported that someone was shot. I don't understand. And he said, Officer Fambro, which is my maiden name, discharging firearms is a very serious offense. Someone could be injured, and it's serious enough that we must go code 1 because our job is to protect life. And if we don't get there in a hurry, we don't know if there's someone out there that needs us. That's our job, and that's why you're going code 1. Do you understand that? And I said, yes, sir. At the end of the day, we debriefed that particular incident, and basically we learned from each other. I learned that discharging firearms in Winston-Salem was and is a very serious offense. But what he also learned is that I was a product of my environment growing up. And so growing up, discharging firearms was something I heard all the time. And I even told him if a police officer came every time a gun was fired, that's all they'd be doing. But again, what I've learned through that process and through my experience here is that that's not normal. And our children have the right and deserve to grow up in a safe community and not believing that violence is normal. And so to answer your question specifically, I believe it is our responsibility to foster the intelligence and to capitalize on the creativity of our kids so that they understand. And truly, when I say we can clearly rewrite the generation equation for youth in our community whose life challenges stand in the way of their road to success, I mean we can truly change lives and change the trajectory of the futures of some of our children, but we've got to be willing to invest in them as a community.
Another point is connecting with the community. I know you've already done it in the past. I know during the Travis Page situation, you were definitely speaking out against on that and sharing your thoughts. Why did you feel it was important to speak out about that personally?
So I believe that relationship building is the difference between success and failure. In my experience, if we can sit down and have a conversation during non-contentious times, you get to know me and I get to know you. We may not always agree on everything, but if we can talk things out, I get to know your heart and you get to know mine. And at the end of the day, we walk away either agreeing or agreeing to disagree. So if we foster those relationships and we have coffee and we sit down and talk about things that's going on, or you know, we're at a community meeting and we're clearly discussing those things, again, we get to know each other so that when something big happens in our community, you know, you may say, I don't like this, I don't like the way it looks, it really looks like something bad is going on here. But you know what? I know Catrina Thompson, and I know her heart. I know her from interactions, from our conversations, from the relationship that we've built. And while I don't like what I see here, I'm going to give her and her department a chance to get through this and to lay it all out to us and show us what's really happened. And that's all we're asking for. You know, not a free pass, just a fair opportunity and a chance. But absent those contacts, those relationships prior to the catastrophe happening, then it would be very difficult for me or anyone else to expect that type of time.
With what's going on across the country today with race relations and the relationship with the police, being a police officer has always been tough. Do you think it's added pressure right now on police officers with the climate?
Well, I certainly think it makes the job a lot tougher in various different ways. You know, going out here every day, we have officers who don this uniform every day, knowing that they could lose their job, they could lose their reputation, and even worse, they could lose their lives. And so when you have situations like that, not only does it make it tough because you got people out there who just because of our profession dislike us for no other reason but because of our profession dislike us. And so yes, it does definitely make it hard. But also it makes recruiting for the profession hard, and that's for our sworn and our civilian positions. But again, I think relationships make the difference.
Hey, Richard, what's going to be going through your mind when you're getting sworn in? I know a lot of emotions, there's a lot of things going to be going through your mind. What do you think is going to be the first thing that goes through your mind when you're getting sworn in?
My grandparents. My grandmother, Florida Blue, and my grandfather, Willie D. Blue, both who sacrificed a lot to help my mom put my sisters and I through private school, because we did live in a violent community, but they knew that through education that we can overcome those challenges. They provided a safe home, they provided love and support, and education was non-negotiable in my household. And so because of that, we were always taught that if you put God first and never stop with education, you can go anywhere and do anything. And my grandfather always wanted a nurse and a police officer. And I always joke, none of us were nurses. He did get one police officer. And I was fortunate enough for him to travel here to attend my rookie school graduation in June of 1994. And then 8 months later, he passed away.
I know Chief Roundtree is on his way out, and I know you guys work together a lot. What's something that you learned from Chief Roundtree that you're going to take with you?
Chief Roundtree was extremely gracious in exposing us to things that we hadn't been exposed to in the past. So being involved in community meetings and basically sharing the wealth of responsibilities throughout the community we were allowed to really get engaged in things within the city to kind of help spread the Winston-Salem brand and the Winston-Salem way of doing things as a police organization. So that, and then also Chief Roundtree was really big on making sure that we gave everyone an equal opportunity to succeed. And that meant pushing them and stretching them to do things that were outside of their comfort zones. And so that's something that I'll definitely carry forward in my position as I take on the ranks of police chief.
Just a couple more questions for you. Following the forum, I know you got a lot of support from some of the police officers that you work with, but a lot of people from the community who were at the meeting, after the forum and I spoke with them, they were all for you. They said both candidates were great, but they were all for you. How did that make you feel, knowing that the community had your back?
It made me feel good. It really did. Like I said, Winston-Salem is my home, and I thoroughly believe that nobody can protect my home the way that I can. But it all goes back, Tevin, to relationships. As I mentioned, I think I was able to get that type of reception in the room because we've been out there in the field together. You know, I've sat in community meetings with Miss Marva Reed in the past, and you know, worked with the Neighborhood Watch Association or Neighborhood Association with Miss Claudette Bailey, and you know, we've had some work to do. You know, you mentioned the Travis Page case, and working with the Ministers Conference and asking, just give us a chance, and developing that relationship with Bishop Fulton and with the president, Pastor Lamont Williams of the Ministers Conference. So all of those things make a difference. And again, you have to invest in social capital on the front end to be able to go back and withdraw when it's needed.
Just one more. What's something that you want to accomplish in your first few weeks as police chief?
In my first few weeks, what I'd like to do, again, is start making contact with some of our community leaders, and basically having the conversation about how we want to move forward as an organization or as a community team. And that means, again, kids and the youth in our community is where my heart is. And I think that everybody should and must understand that we have a responsibility to the youth in our department, or in our community, I'm sorry. And then the other thing is that I want to work towards growing future leaders within the Winston-Salem Police Department. We have a great organization, and I'm fortunate enough to work with some of the most professional men and women in law enforcement in the nation. And I believe that we have talent right there in our organization. And I also believe that it is my responsibility to make sure that we capitalize on that talent, and that after I'm gone from here, that we have capable people within our organization that possess the can-do and the want-to move our agency forward. And I definitely think that's possible.
Okay. Well, that's all I had. Thank you for taking this time. Congratulations again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. See you soon.
Good stuff.